Welcome to the Delicious Alignment Body Love and Food Freedom podcast, where we talk about all things law of attraction, learning how to love your body and your food, feeling your way to what you want instead of endless diets and struggle, and allowing more health and wellness into your life. I'm your host, Rhonda Ryder, author of Delicious Alignment, How 25 Women Learn to Love and Transform Their Bodies Using Abraham-Hicks and the Law of Attraction. This is part 2 of my interview with my buddy, Karen Money Williams. She's also a Law of Attraction author and the founder of the very fun group, Abraham Fun, on Facebook. Before we wrap up here, I would like to know more about what your current meditation practice is, if you would like to share with us.
Oh, sure. I would love that. Yeah. So Mark and I were just discussing that, how we were just discussing that. We actually almost had a little fight over it, by golly.
Oh, my goodness.
It's so funny. I say that tongue in cheek, but we had some differences of opinion of what really constitutes meditation. And so, and I love it's whatever anybody is, what's right for them is what's right for them. And there's no wrong way to do it. But I do, what I find has been so good for me is, no words, what am I trying to say? Silent meditation with stopping
without guided visualization. So you're saying without someone speaking and guiding you. Yeah. Okay.
Right. Exactly. Now I love that too. And also I love all of it. And I've benefited over the years from all of it. But Abraham really emphasizes the stopping thought. And this is where Mark doesn't agree with me. He just feels like, it's being in the zone, being in the vortex, whether you're shooting basketball, his many analogies with sports. And that's meditation. And that can be a form of meditation. But what I believe is when you stop thought, and Abraham teaches this repeatedly, then you stop resistant thought, and then the well-being that's ever flowing to us, always, 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 every moment, then can come through. And that's what I have based this on for the past months, of just thinking about, I just want to let that stuff come through. And sometimes I envision it almost like a white light or golden light, but I don't do anything heavy-handed visualization wise. I just basically allow my thoughts to subside. And then I just feel like, and sometimes I say, girl, you're giving yourself a treatment. It's like a treatment, because you're giving yourself the best kind of whatever juju in the universe. You're allowing that to flow to you and through you with total ease. And so what I do is I just stop thought, and it gets easier and easier. And it's easier for me now because I see the results of stopping thought. I see the synchronicities popping up all over, and I see how my finances have improved radically. I see so many results from it. So for me, Abraham said to somebody was in the hot seat recently. I was watching a video and they said, well, the kind of meditation we do is stopping thought. And Abraham says, yes, and that's the only kind we teach. Go on. And so then I told Mark, I said, by the way, Abraham said, and he goes, I'd like to know where Abraham said that. I don't think Abraham said that. And I said, Abraham did say that. And then we were both out of the vortex. No, I'm just joking. That's just a funny thing. But we do see it differently, and everybody gets to decide and play around with it for them. But I would say for everybody to give it a chance to just practice stopping thought, and know that good stuff is flowing to you every moment that you are just in a kind of a neutral place. So that's how I do it these days.
But I hear everyone asking this question that's listening to this, and I'm asking the question as well. But Karen, how do you stop thought?
Oh, yes. And that is the best question ever. And I know one fella told me, he says, I can't do it. I just cannot do it. And he kept telling me over and over he couldn't do it. And I said, can you do it for 1 second? And he goes, yeah. And because it occurred to me, if you could do it for 1 second, you could do it for 2 seconds. And if you could do it for 2 seconds, you could do it for 3 seconds. And maybe just start with 1 second, because I know it seems so boring and so counterintuitive, because our minds are normally, they want to be active, and that's how we create. So yes, it's good to have an active mind, but there's also good to let it quiet down. So for me, the turning point was, again, practicing it and seeing results, and then saying, oh my gosh, I want more of those results. I've got to have more of that. And now I'm starting to get to the point where I look forward to it. It's not like a spiritual push-up. You know, you do it because it's good for you, but you don't really enjoy it. It's actually something that I love to do. And I also, I also, like, sometimes I'll just listen. I'll just do, I'll stop thought by just listening within and see if I hear, you know, any kind of words like what Esther hears. Who knows? There might be all kinds of dialogue going on there that I'll hear, that I'll pick up on. And then but again, it's talking about really quiet. I have felt when you do that, I've experienced times of being so quiet that it's just so much quieter than I'm accustomed to. But it's a good quiet, and I feel like it's a deep relaxation. So I would encourage anybody to play around with that stopping thought and just see if you can do it really briefly, and then just maybe a little bit longer, maybe for a whole minute or something, and then just kind of see where it takes you. Just experiment with it.
Yeah. So for instance, when I go to meditate, and, you know, of course, many people will share the same thing, is that, yeah, but my mind is just thinking all of these thoughts. It's not quieting down. So what I hear you saying is that it's a practice. It's just, you keep practicing. So I'm thinking that, okay, well, if I go ahead and meditate for 15 minutes, like for me, I'm like Esther, I like to listen to a fan or the air conditioning or something like that. And you know, my monkey mind is going. However, if I've heard them say, if even just like, you know, you get 5 seconds where your mind has stopped, even, you know, in that 15 minutes, you might only have 5 or 7 seconds, but those 5 or 7 seconds change your life.
They do. They're powerful. It's magic. It's absolute magic. So just to eke out a little bit of it, and then eke out a little bit more, and absolutely, I totally agree. And of course, never beat up on yourself. You know, we've heard that many times. Abraham says there's no need to beat up on yourself. Just do what you can, and it will. Sometimes I say, okay, meet me halfway meditation practice, because I don't feel, some days I can't quite get into it. There are times I really can't, and I just I give up on it and I go do something else. And then later in the day, I'll feel like, yeah, now things are calmer. I've already done a lot of thinking. And sometimes I will just deliberately, if I feel like my mind's really busy, I will let my mind be very busy for 5 minutes or so, just really busy, just think this, and then it's kind of tired, and then I can actually settle down a little bit more. It's worth trying a lot of different avenues to get to this, because for me, it really has been the other side of the coin, to the main coin being, you know, our mental focus, and directing our mental focus on things we want and like. That's one side of the coin. And for me, really, the other side is quieting my mind. And of course, and I'm always reminded, and Mark reminded me, he says, well, appreciation is better though. If you can appreciate, that's such a high vibe, and it is. But a lot of times we're not quite in that vibe. And on a daily basis, we're more likely to be in, more in a place where meditation is something that we can latch onto a little bit easier.
So could you tell me, do you like sit in a yoga position, or do you lay down or on the bed, or let's start there. And then I want to ask you a follow-up question about that.
Well, yeah, I lie on the bed for the most part, or sometimes I sit on the porch. But one thing for sure, I know a person wants to be comfortable. It's really important to be comfortable. So for me, a lot of times sitting in a chair is really not all that comfortable because my legs don't reach the floor because I'm short, and sometimes it's just not all that comfortable. So I want nothing to impinge on my comfort. And of course, now this presupposes that you're not real sleepy and tired. If a person might, want to meditate but is pretty sleepy, then it's probably better to sit up. So again, you kind of have to adjust. But for me, for the most part, I just lie down on the bed.
Great. So you lay down. I do the same thing. I lay down. I just more comfortable that way. And then what? So you're not listening to any music or anything. You just like the silence.
Right.
And then what do you
do? And when you say silence, that goes back. I love that word because it goes back to my unity days of being in the silence. That's what they used to call it. I don't know if they still do, but what a perfect phrase, in the silence. And it's sort of has that sense that you're being engulfed by the silence. I love that so much. So for me, I have become, I associate positive things with silence and with non-thought, to the extent that I'm pretty able to go there directly and pretty quickly these days, after practicing consistently for quite a few months, the better part of a year. It doesn't cause me a lot of mental gyrations to get there. And again, some days are different, that easier than others, but I'm getting more and more. I feel like there's a groove I'm establishing that feels natural to me. And so just lying down on the bed in my quote unquote office, also the cat's room upstairs, it signals to me, okay, this is the time, and you're going to take. And then I look at my watch, and I often think, okay. And I go, if it's like 3:45, like it is maybe now, then I think, okay, I'll go until 4. If it's 10 till 4, I'll say, okay, I'll go until 4. If it's 5 till 4, I'll go. It's kind of like I go by my watch, and I feel like I kind of know how long I want to go, just by sort of feeling it and kind of seeing. I feel like my inner being kind of uses my regular old watch, not a smart watch, but just to kind of help me. And then I'll just say, okay, I'll go about 5 minutes, or I'll go about 10 minutes. And I don't usually go much longer than that at one time. And then I'll just
5 minutes or 10 minutes.
Yeah, I wouldn't go too much. I mean, I don't go too much longer than that. Now, I mean, really,
once a day, usually.
Once a day. I would say always twice a day, because I get so it's like I want that, and it's almost like I feel like I recharge my batteries that way. And I feel like if I haven't meditated for quite a few hours, well, I'm ready to meditate again. It is sort of becoming like almost like eating, for instance, or sleeping. It's like something that I can tell that I'm ready to do again. It's like you start to get these internal cues, maybe. And so that's how it is for me these days. And definitely if I've gotten into a lot of resistance, um, and I still can relate to Esther. Abraham said that for Esther, sometimes it's like she's just going along feeling so good and fine and everything's great. And then it's like she walks into she steps on an emotional landmine. And I thought, what? And that's just they've said that not that long ago. And I thought, yeah, I know how that can go. I mean, something triggers you, that you didn't see coming, and you just feel so off your game. Well, then I have that gives me such a recourse. So then that's a time I just take it if I possibly can, and I usually can. I go to that bed and I lie down and I say, okay, this is the time I want to get back. I want to move up the emotional scale, and I know that I will move up the emotional scale automatically if I just, clear my mind, because I'm not thinking resistant thoughts at that moment, and then I let those feelings subside. And that just happened to me recently. Something triggered me, as the old saying goes, and I thought, oh my gosh, I can't believe how good I was feeling all day, and I can't believe how bad I'm feeling at this moment. And I thought, I don't know. And I mean, I started to think thoughts like, oh, this is going to take me a while to get out of this. And so I lay down and I just allowed that process to happen. And then I still felt kind of crummy when I went back to just regular day stuff. But then it just faded. It just went away. And I'm like, thank you.
Yeah.
Whatever meditation, God, help me with this. Thank you. Because for me, the bottom line, and I suppose I speak for so many of us, is I want to feel good. I so want to feel good. That is, I mean, and that's what I've learned from Abraham, how to do it. I learned what our emotions mean. And to just be able to know that you can go, whether it's a process, all those wonderful processes, or you can lie down and just whatever and relax and clear your mind for a bit and feel better. For any of us who might have used to gone long stints of feeling kind of bad, and now knowing I don't have to do that anymore. I have control over that. That doesn't have to drag on and on and on. I can, to me, that there's just no words. There are no words and I do also feel in my life, I've come full circle. I wanted to go into psychology. That's always been my interest. And now I feel like through Abraham, I have found the psychology that really, really works, at least for people who, have whatever, the regular, I guess, house variety of, worries and patterns of that type of thing. I find what really, really works.
Hi guys, I hope you're enjoying my interview with Karen. I'm popping in for a minute to let you know that many of my private clients have expressed a desire for more support in between sessions. I love this idea and have created a few new ways to do that. So now when you sign up for one of my coaching packages, not only will you receive 60-minute sessions with me, you're also going to have access to a small and private Facebook group where you can connect with each other if you choose to and support one another during the week. You'll also have the opportunity to connect with me privately in between sessions via private messaging or email. Also, you'll have access to group coaching Zoom calls with those who have signed up for private coaching packages. This is all designed to support you on your journey of spiritual expansion, whether that includes transitioning from dieting to intuitive eating or other topics such as stress, anxiety, money, or relationships. And for the month of September 2022, when you register for a coaching package, you will receive up to 3 60-minute one-on-one sessions with me for free. That is a big savings. This opportunity for up to 3 bonus sessions expires on Friday, September 30th, 2022. To get all the details, go to deliciousalignment.com/coaching. I can't wait to meet you. Now let's get back to the interview with Karen. So, and still here I am asking after all of that, but how do you stop the thought? Okay, so you're laying in bed and your mind actually gets quiet. So you're not real. And I am saying that, and I have experienced it. I do experience it. Like I can quiet my mind for tiny little bits of time. And a lot of times it's just like spontaneous, especially after like a coaching session, or and I just like, wow, I'm just like blown away. And I go sit down and look out the window at the beautiful trees. And I just like take these deep breaths, like 3 deep breaths in. And I feel like my mind is quiet. Really feel like that's a meditation. It's like a spontaneous meditation. I'm just like looking out the window, or even close my eyes, but I actually focus on my breath, and that helps me. Or I'm just like I'm not even focusing on my breath because it just happened. I just feel so much appreciation. I'm looking out the window and my mind is actually quiet. It's not all of this, activity, like all these thoughts. And especially at night, like that happens with the activity when I want to go to sleep. So maybe you can speak to that a little bit. But so are you saying that when you've gotten to this point now, when you go to meditate for 5 or 10 minutes, that your mind is quiet? There's nothing you really need to do. You've trained yourself, you've practiced yourself enough that it's gotten easier and easier and easier over time, and that your mind is just quiet. Like you don't have a lot of thoughts going on.
Right. It's like it has become for me gradually, by practicing, it's become like I can almost flip a switch. That thought just came to me as you asked that. More and more, it's like I can flip a switch. And I love feeling that, like I have that kind of control over my cranium. And it gets, and the reason, again, is that I see, I just kept doing it enough that I started seeing enough results that I thought, well, if I did it more, what kind of results might I have? And I wanted to find that out. And because it used to be for years, I would meditate enough that I would have synchronicities throughout the day. After that, I used to be on my computer with the TV on in the background all the time. I did that every day, all the time. I don't do that at all anymore, but for sundry reasons, but also it's just so distracting. But I'd be typing a word and somebody would say it on TV over and over. I would have that.
Yeah.
Almost to the point of where I'm thinking that's almost weird. But I knew that it was a little, it was just sort of a little synchronicity.
Oh, yeah. Go on. I was just like, oh, so, cause like, I think that happens. Like you have a song in your head or a phrase in your mind, and you turn on the radio and they sing that phrase. I mean, it's like just all those synchronicities start to happen even more when you're meditating. And so I can't wait to start meditating even more. Yeah.
Yes. If you will just know that you're going to see some results, and you might not immediately, or it might be, it's going to be subtle. It is subtle, but it gets more dramatic as time goes on, I feel. And it's something then that you start to get excited about it. And you start to think, ooh, I wonder what Source has got for me today. It's sort of that thing that Abraham used to say, Source, how are you going to surprise and delight me today? Just in the course of things. But with meditation, now I'm entering into a new level with it, where I say that. I mean, I think that, how are you going to surprise and delight me today? during our time together. And usually it's not really during our time together, but it's afterwards. And then there'll just be some kind of, again, something that's just the time wise, or just things that are so unlikely to have happened in the normal course of things. And it just gives you that quality of life that is so interesting. It makes life more of an adventure. And so if I don't meditate consistently, then life just suddenly starts to feel very flat, because I don't have those little pings and things. So I mean, they sort of stop. They do stop. I mean, I'm always careful about keeping my thoughts as positive as possible. That's just the baseline that I live from. But then I feel like with this meditation, then the magic, I'm just adding the pings, the pongs, I'm adding the real magic to it, where it just gets more exciting. So yes, as far as I've done everything. Once I saw that I could do this, that there was a cause and effect with this, I started doing anything I could to help that process. And I've heard Abraham say that Esther, I believe, at one time counted. And sometimes if I'm not just falling into that groove, I will count to myself, and I will just maybe 1,001, 1,002, and just enough to keep my cranium busy so it doesn't go off into thoughts, jump around, but it's just slightly busy. So if I can't just make it blank, then I just give it a little chore to count. And I don't say we're going to count to 500 or anything like that. We just count. And then it just gives it, as I say, a little something to do, keep out of mischief. And then another thing, I've just done all kinds of things. Somebody gave me some bongo drums, and I thought, well, when I was having challenges with it, I'm just going to pound on those bongo drums and just kind of make a sound and listen to that sound and see where that takes me. And I like that too. Just anything.
You're actually physically doing it, or are you imagining doing it?
Yes, I'm actually physically doing that some. Or then if you have done it physically, then you can just imagine it, or you can sometimes just any kind of a repetitive movement. We once had a unity minister back in Oregon, and she said she would go into a meditative state when she got on her exercise bike, which I thought, that sounds great. She said she would just get on there and just start pedaling, and she's just into a meditative state. Now, I've not found that to be the case for me, but anything repetitive, well, like that air conditioner hum that you have used and that Esther uses, anything just repetitive enough to kind of just keep you off, just focusing on that, or just a little something to just distract you enough, but not really cause you to think. And so sometimes just a little, I try everything because to get into that state. I mean, I think, again, you can experiment with anything that could work for you, but just to get into that, and more you start to feel when you click into it.
Yeah.
And it becomes familiar. As it becomes more and more familiar, and you become more and more able to click into it, then you're going to see more and more results, I do think.
Great. And has this meditation helped you with your sleep at all, or you've always been a good sleeper?
I am a good sleeper. Yes, so I can't say if it helps me or if it doesn't help me, because yes, that is something that I do easily, and I do a lot of. Mark says I'm a champion sleeper, so I don't know if that's a compliment or not, but it's good to be a champion at something.
Yeah. Oh, you are. So, okay. So just for anyone that's listening, I think like Karen said, it's really great to experiment with different things. I know for me, it's really like listening to some beautiful music um, is really helpful for me, or listening, like I said before, to a fan or air conditioner. And then you can build yourself up to eventually, listening to nothing, like just silence, if that's something you want. But I don't think there's any wrong or right way to do it, right? So you just finding what works for you. But I mean, my husband started meditating again just recently, and I'm like, who are you?
Really?
What happened to you? What happened to my husband? He's always pretty, Steve, he's pretty calm, really level, yeah, guy, like a solid rock. But lately he was having he was just a little bit more like tense and stuff about, certain health issue, and nothing serious going on here. But he started meditating. I kept saying, why don't you try meditating? Why don't you, he likes, what's Joe Dispenza. So those are really, really in-depth meditations, 45 minutes or whatever. And he would fall asleep a lot of times, and no matter, it's still, I'm like, if you get 7 seconds of connecting, really, like pure connection, or even that 45 minutes, even if you fall asleep for part of it, and it's still like, I could just see such a big difference in him.
That is fascinating that you saw the difference, and he no doubt felt the difference.
Yeah. And yeah, I believe it's really just, it affects everything, your health, your state of mind. And oftentimes I will tell my clients to start meditating, and it was Mark. I would tell them to start meditating, even 5 minutes, or just, that's like you're saying, 5 minutes twice a day. That's nothing. And then that makes a difference. When they start doing that, you could see the difference in the session. You could see the difference happening there. So I'm a firm believer, and I want to thank you so much for sharing about that. Yeah.
I'm so glad that came up. I didn't necessarily know that it would, but I'm so thrilled that we had a chance to take thought forward with that, because that's a very fun thing to talk about, and so valuable for people. And it doesn't have to be anything esoteric or anything arduous. In fact, it's better if it's not arduous at all. But again, just a little bit, just baby steps, just little baby steps, and add a little. As I've said to Mark, that's what I find, what I've really learned from one of the things I've learned from Abraham in all of life is just to take little steps, and content yourself with little steps instead of feeling frustrated. Oh, I didn't get that done. But instead say, wait a minute, I did a little of that today, and I did a little of that, and a little of that, and a little of that. And I myself have a chart, an old-fashioned paper chart, and I literally mark off these little things that I do each day, and including the meditation. Meditation.
You're a Libra. I know.
Me and my charts, I'm all about them. Yeah, you got to have you a chart.
So Karen, please tell people about your group, Abraham Fun, on Facebook, or anything else you want to tell people about.
Yeah. Okie dokie. Well, it's on Facebook. The group is Abraham Fun. I think we started in 2010, so we've been going for a while. We're rather adept at whatever being on Facebook. You have to be on Facebook. That's all it takes. And then you just go and you can request to be in the group. And you automatically get added to the group. There's no strings attached, no malarkey. There's nothing, and it's very easy. And being in the group is very easy. And if you get thrown out of that group, it's very unlikely. Let's put it this way. I encourage you
to really, really do something. You must be banned from Facebook. Yeah.
Really, really, really. We just welcome everybody, and we try to have a good time, and we have some laughs because I'm big on that. And so that is, just come to Facebook and Abraham Fun. And then eventually, as I say, we hope to have meetings here in the Central Florida area at the Oviedo Mall. But I will share that on in Abraham Fun also for those folks who might be in this area and might be able to attend in person. And so we will share more about that in due time.
Wonderful. And that's in Central Florida, if anyone is interested or lives in Central Florida. So great. Well, thank you so much, Karen. This has been just so much fun, of course. So great to catch up with you. And again, thank you for sharing your story.
My great pleasure and honor, Rhonda. And I love all that you're doing, and keep it up, my dear. I know you will. And I can't wait to see how things continue to unfold for your coaching, your writing, all aspects of your outreach and fun.
Thank you so much.
Certainly.
I hope you enjoyed part 2 of my interview with Karen Money Williams on meditation. You can connect with Karen on Facebook at Soul Song Karen or by joining her Facebook group, Abraham Fun. You can also learn more about Karen and her books by going to her website, KarenMoneyWilliams.com. Find all the links mentioned in this podcast at deliciousalignment.com/podcast, and make sure to join my Facebook group, Delicious Alignment, if you have not done so already. I've got wonderful guests lined up for you in the coming months with people who have used the law of attraction to learn how to love their bodies and their food, as well as attract more health and happiness into their lives. We will delve into other subjects occasionally as well. Do you know someone who could benefit from the Delicious Alignment message? If so, help me spread the word by sharing this podcast with others. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. That also helps us spread the message. Thank you for listening. Till next time.